Thanks for the reminder. Thank you.
Okay, the Commission on Equitable Housing and Development meeting is now commenced. It is June 1st at 4 p.m. This meeting is being held virtually due to COVID-19 to allow for social distancing and to protect the public health. As we continue our efforts in meeting remotely, we ask all commissioners and guests to mute yourselves until called upon to speak to avoid feedback and background noise. For those who have dialed in using the call-in number, to unmute to speak, dial *6 on your phone. Also, prior to speaking, please announce who you are to identify yourself. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. We ask that you only use the chat function to request to speak or to announce that you are leaving the meeting so we can track quorum. Also, to comply with the state open meeting laws, attendance and votes will be done by way of roll call using audio, not by using the chat function. So now I'm going to do a roll call. Maggie Amato Tejas.
Present.
Wendy Asher is absent. Marianne Bierling.
Here.
Mindy Bernstein.
Here.
Hi, Wendy. Mark Clark.
Here.
Vicky Cusino. Vicky's out. Sharia is not here yet. Lori Miserbo.
Present.
Tisha Tillman.
Here.
Jim Topol, I am here. Ken Brianna Washington.
Present.
Ray Winch.
Present.
Jay Young is absent, and Kenny Wong.
Present as well.
So we have a couple of new members here with us today. Tisha, Kenny, and Ray. So welcome, first of all, to the Commission of Equitable Housing Development. Before we do finish, well, actually, I'm going to do ex officio, and then maybe we could just go around and do introductions real quick. So our ex officio, Liz Morales, is not here. Corn Manning.
Present.
Betty Villegas. Betty is out. And then Marcos Ismail. I saw Marcos. Is he not here? I guess Marcos is out too. Okay. So who wants to start? Ray, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Ray Winch. I work with the Tucson Alliance for Housing Justice, mostly on housing policy. So I'm really grateful to be here with you all.
Thank you, Ray. Kenny?
Hi, my name is Kenny Wong, a lecturer over at the University of Arizona in the School of Landscape Architecture and Planning. I work on affordable housing policy and happy to be joining.
Kenny, were you one of the professors who spoke at the housing supply study a few months ago?
I did not. I think those are other colleagues.
Okay. All right, Tisha?
I'm Tisha Tallman. I'm the CEO of the Primavera Foundation.
All right, well, welcome. We should probably meet offline. I will reach out to each of you here in the next week. Maybe we can set up a lunch or something, and just to kind of help you guys get up to speed on the commission and what we're doing. And it's a difficult task that we've been given to tackle for the city. But I'm excited to have some fresh faces here. I appreciate you guys volunteering your time because we are all busy individuals. And but so thank you again. And it looks like Wendy's has joined us, Wendy Asher. Okay, so we're going to move to. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, this is Mark Clark. I'm wondering if maybe it makes sense for the rest of us to go around and just say our names and our affiliations.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a great idea, Mark. Thank you. Why don't you start?
So I'm Mark Clark. I'm the CEO at Pima Council on Aging.
Okay, my name's Jim Toffel. I am a managing member for Toffel Dent Construction. We're general contractors here in Tucson, specialize in multifamily housing with an emphasis on affordable housing. Mary Ann?
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Beerling. Hi, Tisha, welcome to you. And Ray and Kenny, and I am the CEO with Compass Affordable Housing.
Maggie?
Can unmute me, yeah. Hi, everyone, thanks, welcome Ray and me and Tisha, and I met Tisha at going away. Anyways, I am the executive director of the community.
Thank you, Maggie. I think your microphone might have some issues.
Yeah, we're not hearing you.
I think it's my laptop, I may just drop it one more time. Maybe that'll get it to work.
So Maggie's the executive director of the Pima County Land Trust. You couldn't hear her. Okay, Corin?
Hi, Ray, Kenny, and Tisha. I'm Corin Manning, planning administrator in the Department of Planning and Development Services with the City of Tucson. So we work closely with HCD on a number of initiatives in Tucson to support affordable and workforce housing and work housing in general in our community.
Lori?
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Lori Mazerbo. I'm the Associate Director of the Schools Program at Youth on Their Own, and we work with youth experiencing homelessness to graduate high school.
Thank you, Marcos.
Good afternoon. Marcos Ismail, Housing Program Manager with Pima County Community Workforce Development. I work with the affordable housing programs for rental and homeownership, as well as emergency food and shelter program with FEMA.
Thank you. Ken Brianna?
Hello, my name's Kimbriana. I'm one of the newest members for you guys. I originally started as a program leader at El Rio in their reproductive health access project, but currently I work at El Rio as a population health technician. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Kimberly. Mindy?
Hi, I'm Mindy Bernstein. I am unaffiliated. However, I have 36 years of experience working in our indigent behavioral healthcare system, and I'm a member of the commission. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Wendy Asher?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Wendy Asher. I'm one of the managing attorneys at Southern Arizona Legal Aid. I've also been an attorney who represented tenants in landlord-tenant matters. And before becoming an attorney, I worked with refugees, and I'm a member of the commission.
Okay, Sharia Jimenez?
Hi, my name is Sharia Jimenez. I'm with the Quadro Design. Let's see.
Hey, Shay. Okay, and then, so Ann is not with us yet, and Liz is not with us. Who's with us from HD? Jason, and then who else is on? Is that Ernesto?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you want to
Just
just
hiding.
do a quick intro?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, because I didn't know if I was on as a commissioner or audience. So this is Betty. I'm here.
hey Betty, welcome.
Thanks.
You want to? We have 3 new commission members. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, Kennedy, hi. I'm Betty Villegas, and I represent the South Tucson, City of South Tucson Housing.
Okay, Nesto? You're on mute.
Yes, I'm on mute. Ernesto Portillo, Public Information Officer for Housing Community Development.
Ernesto is our primary point of contact within HCD for the commission. And Jason, why don't you go ahead?
Sure, I'm Jason Thorpe. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Community Services Administrator here in HCD.
Okay.
Jim, I
yeah.
just saw Austin Puka, who is the Human Services Manager for HCD, chime in. I think she must be on the phone.
Okay.
Oh, there she is. She's there now.
Hi, y'all. I'm signed in through Zoom. I just have not been promoted. That's why y'all weren't able to speak. But I am the Human Services Manager here for Planning Community Development.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, there you are.
It disconnected me and put me back together. I'm Austin Puka, she, her pronouns. I'm the Human Services Manager here in Planning Community Development Division, and I directly oversee our Continuum of Care team and our entitlement and general fund grant making team.
Okay, thank you, Austin. Brandy, did you want to go?
Brandy Champion, Housing First Program Director, City of Tucson.
All right, and I think the last person that jumped on here is Terry Galligan.
Yeah, hi, I'm Terry Galligan. I'm the Deputy Director here at Housing and Community Development.
Okay, so if best way to find our website is to just go into Google and do a Google search for CEHD Tucson. It'll give you a direct link to our webpage. On our webpage is the agenda, all of the handouts and presentations. So I would encourage you guys to kind of have that in your background as we're going through the meeting. Okay. So welcome again. I'm going to move on to agenda item number 2, which is the review and the adoption of our is it our April meeting minutes? I thought it was our May meeting minutes, excuse me. Which are labeled April. Are those Ernesto?
Yes.
Are these actually our April meeting minutes?
Gosh. I'll have,
hang on, let me look. So I didn't think we had.
I thought I sent you the May 4th minutes.
Yeah, let me get my email here.
I emailed them out. Commissioners, did you not receive the minutes?
It says May 4th minutes, but when I clicked on that link, the minutes are actually from April 13th.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I have too.
Okay. I apologize. Can while you continue with the meeting, I'll call up the minutes and send you a new.
Yeah, I've got the actually no, I do have the May 4th meeting minutes. Okay. What I'd like to do is table this to the end of the meeting. Ernesto, the email that you sent me on the 26th at 3 p.m. has the proper minutes. The ones that are on the website are incorrect.
Okay.
If you could send these out we're going to table this agenda item. And then we'll come back to it before the end of the meeting. Is that,
Yes, thank you.
any objections to that?
No.
No.
Thank you. Okay, then let's move to the call to audience. This is a time when any member of the public may address the Commission on Equitable Housing and Development. Due to time constraints, the total time allocated for this is 15 minutes. Individuals are allowed 3 minutes each. Due to open meeting laws, commission members cannot discuss topics that are not on the agenda. Items may be brought up by the public may be considered as an agenda item for future meetings. Is there anybody who would like to speak?
Have Joe Adina coming in.
Okay. Hey, Joe, go ahead.
Hi, thank you all, and welcome to Ray, and Kenny, and Tisha. Ray, I already know a little bit. Tisha and I had a good conversation yesterday at Housing First. I'm looking forward to learning about your work, Kenny. Thank you all for being here and being part of this. For people who don't know, my name is Joe. I'm a founding member of the Historic 4th Avenue Coalition. I'm on the board, I'm the treasurer of the Barrio Neighborhood Coalition, and I've been interested in displacement, development, gentrification, and that kind of work around housing for 4 or 5 years now. And I try to attend every meeting and of the CHD and its subcommittees. What I wanted to bring up today was about a year ago, we had a meeting with Ruby Dillon Williams, the deputy director of the Arizona Department of Housing. And my question for Ruby was about units that might be coming out of their LIHTC protections over the next few years. And I didn't really ever hear back from anybody about that, but there was recently a story out of Phoenix that gave a list of some properties that would be losing LIHTC protections over the next few years. And in Tucson, I noticed there were a few of them. There's Casa Bonita 3, 4, and 5, and I believe it was called Valle del Sur or Colonia Libre Townhomes. That would be coming out in January 2025. That's 120 units. I think they're both about 60. And in January 2026, that will be St. Luke's in the Desert, which is 64 units. I think that is something that would be of concern to the Commission on Equitable Housing and Development. What's going to happen to the tenants in those, and what the future looks like for those properties and the people in them. Kind of my ask here, I know we can't have a conversation about it because this is called to the audience, but my ask would be that we confirm perhaps with HCD that those are the 3 properties that would be coming out of LIHTC at that time, 2025 and 2026, and what the plans are for those properties and what kind of supports we have for tenants if they are losing the kind of rent restrictions around LIHTC on those. That's my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Can you either email or post a link in our chat to that article? I'd be interested in seeing that.
We'll get it right now. I can do that. Give me a sec, Jim.
Thank you. Okay, Mary Ann.
Forgive me for not knowing this, I should by now, but can a commission member bring up a topic? Okay.
Yep.
So the topic that I think I'd like the group to talk to, or maybe this is something that's going into the Affordable Housing Subcommittee. I'm not sure where it went, but it is having to do with homeless encampments and just a discussion on street homelessness in general. And I don't know if that is part of today's discussion or not, but I'd like to bring that up for a topic.
Okay. Yeah, we've talked about having that as an agenda item, and I don't think it's on our agenda today. But it's come up a couple times, so I'm gonna make a note. And we'll get that on the agenda for next meeting. Are there any other individuals who'd like to speak? Jason?
Thanks, Jim. I just kind of as a follow-up to Marianne's point and hearing the idea of putting it on an agenda for next month. I think the plan, we'd met with Jay, who was following up on this request, I think from last month's meeting, and believe the plan was to some of our staff are bringing some data from the point in time count, as well as a few other reports that are being released this month to the Housing First subcommittee in July, and then slating a conversation with the full commission in August.
Thank you, Jason. Anybody else like to speak?
There is a person by the name of Bo Phillips who has raised his hand to speak.
Okay, I just see that. Bo, go ahead. Can you hang on? Can you promote Bo to the group?
I'm trying. I don't see his name. Here we go.
It's in the chat to
Yeah,
everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hang on. Can you hear me now? This is Bo Phillips.
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Bo.
Okay, thank you. I'll use my 3 minutes wisely. My goal here is just to get on your radar about a venture that I am just launching. In fact, the first person that I shared it with was Marcos. I was puzzled by the border wall situation and how the state bought several thousand containers that are now parked in the desert around the Tucson jail. And it got me thinking, with all of the effort that's being made to use containers as housing, why not here? We've got them here. We've got thousands and thousands that cost $6 a mile to move. So in talking to the state, it's going to take them a long time to get rid of them. So I put together a plan and a team to refurbish these containers and to get land within the city of Tucson, maybe half to 2/3 of an acre, and to be able to build 10 container unit communities and to have them efficient and comfortable and outfitted with a shower and a kitchen and a bathroom and a private bedroom and a living area. So I was able to attract 2 of the best shipping container experts in the country. One is living in Tucson and the other is finishing up a project in Austin and is moving here. So that's what our intent is. I shared the idea with Mayor Romero, with Supervisor Scott. I met last week with Liz Morales, who said, I'd like to put together a private-public partnership with you in the fall. This is a wonderful idea. So we think that there's an opportunity where desperate need meets abundant supply. And my company is a for-profit company with nonprofit sensibilities. We're not doing it for as a money growth type of development, but more as doing the right thing. It's a town that really needs some help right now. Our goal is to make lemons into lemonade. And I'll say this, that after the embarrassment of spending $200 million and getting nothing, Tucson has a chance to show some leadership and to kind of show, look how we took a difficult situation and did something positive with it. So it's our intent to keep rolling out small pockets of communities. And also, there are millions and millions of containers in the country right now, and they're all share one thing. They're all ugly and they're all fairly industrial. They can be painted, but our vision is to take these containers and turn Tucson's art community loose, because we're so blessed to have all of the mural artists that we have. We want to make them a source of pride, not something that's a source of shame. So I was talking to some of the people on this call and said I would like to be able to present more of a full presentation next time, but we believe in one thing, and that is that if you've been fortunate, don't build a higher fence, build a longer table. And that's our philosophy.
Amen.
My email address is Beau, BEAU, .Phillips, PHILLIPS gmail.com. I've got an extensive background in media and marketing from working with some of the bigger companies in the country. I have a reputation for having big ideas and pulling them off. And this would be a career achievement for me to be involved and lead this.
Thank you, Bo. That's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
We'll discuss it at when we talk about agenda items for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, any other individuals who'd like to speak today? Okay, let's move to the fourth agenda item, which is the ASU equity study. The ASU equity study documents were posted on our website. There's the context for problem and the local project tasks report. Jay was going to lead this discussion and he's not here today. So I guess I'd just like to open it up for comments, thoughts, and next steps. If you want to wait for Jay to come back, we could table this to the next meeting. Anybody have any thoughts?
This is Lori. I think we should table it because if we go down a road maybe that Jay wasn't intending to help us go down, then we're going to spend time today and next time when he gets on the agenda again. So I would vote for us to wait.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to table it?
I would like to make a motion to table it.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, so motion was made by Lori Meserbo, seconded by Mark Clark to table agenda item number 4 to next meeting. Is there any discussion? And I'll go through, do roll call, vote. Maggie?
Yes.
Wendy? Wendy Asher? Wendy, you're on mute if you're trying to speak. Okay, we'll abstain from Wendy's. Mary Ann?
Yes.
Mindy? Mindy's gone. Mark?
Aye.
Vicky is gone. Shay?
Aye.
Lori?
Yes.
Tisha?
Aye.
And Brianna?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
And Kenny?
Aye.
Okay, thank you guys.
Jim, this is Mindy. I'm here.
Oh, you are here. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I
You said aye. Okay, so the ayes have it. Okay, our next agenda item is to select a new chair for the housing subcommittee. If you recall, this was Michael Edmonds' spot. They had a meeting yesterday. So I guess I'd like to ask if there is a volunteer on that subcommittee who would like to be the chair.
I volunteer, Jim.
Tisha volunteers. Thank you, Tisha. Are there any other volunteers?
Nope.
No? Okay, does anybody have any comments or thoughts before we make a motion?
Jim, this is Ernesto, if I can jump in.
Yep.
Can I get a show of hands on who has volunteered for this committee? Because yesterday's meeting, I was just unsure as to what commissioners are on this committee, other than Mindy, Tisha, and Kimbriana. Is anyone else on this committee?
On which committee? I'm sorry. What was the question?
Housing First.
Mindy, Wendy, and Kimbriana, I believe, are the three that I have in my notes.
Wendy, are you on this committee?
I think Wendy might be away from her computer.
Okay.
but yeah, no, Wendy is on it. So on the housing desegregation, it's Jay, Lori, and Vicky. Housing First, it was Michael Edmonds, Mindy, Wendy, Ken, Brianna. Affordable housing was Shay, me, Maggie, Marianne, yeah, and Mark. So, Tisha.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm interested in switching over to the Housing First Committee.
Okay. I don't think we have to vote on that. I think it's just each member needs to kind of pick a subcommittee. So that's great. Thank you, Mark. So. There's none. Okay. All right. So would somebody care to make a motion to anoint Tisha Tallman, excuse me, the chair of the Housing First?
This is Mindy.
Hi, Mindy.
I wish to make a motion to accept Tisha. I forgot your last name.
Tallman.
As to fill the position of chairperson for the Housing First Subcommittee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion before we put it to vote? Okay, Maggie.
Yes.
Wendy, are you there? Okay, Marianne,
Yes.
Mindy,
Aye.
Mark,
Yeah, aye.
Shay,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Ken, Brianna,
Hi.
Ray,
Yes.
and Kenny.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you, Tisha. We really appreciate this. Okay, before we go to the next agenda item, I guess I'd like to ask Kenny and Ray, and you don't have to answer this right away. If you want to wait till we meet, is there a subcommittee that the two of you know you want to be on, or do you want to learn a little bit more about them and then decide?
I'd like to learn more about them and then decide.
And this is Kenny, same for me as well.
Okay, all right. We'll loop back around for that. Okay. All right. So our next agenda item, which is agenda item number 6, is a discussion on a possible facilitator. So just to kind of bring everybody back on what this is, when we started the commission, we went through a facilitator to create these subcommittees and then define the goals for each subcommittee and the group as a whole. We identified some short-term goals, some long-term goals, and I think we did a pretty good job at meeting our short-term goals. And there was a series of recommendations that were made to mayor and council several months ago. And there's a general sense now that, what next? So we don't, as a commission, we don't have, responsibility for something like the Flagstaff Housing Commission. They're the ones who allocate resources to specific projects, so they can review projects, make recommendations. We don't have something like that. Our goal is really to try to advise mayor and council on things that can be done to address inequities and the affordable housing supply, and things that the city can do to basically get more affordable housing long term. And so there was discussion about bringing in another facilitator to help us go through that again. And, now that we've been doing this for a couple of years, I think, we've all learned a lot. We're a little bit more mature, and I think it makes sense to kind of take a step back and reassess those goals and try to figure out, what do we want to do here for the next couple of years. Jay and I met with Bryn Jones this last month. Bryn is a facilitator here in Tucson, and she's a paid professional. And we've talked to her about potentially helping us through that. She said she's going to watch the recording of this video and then probably watch the subcommittees as well. She'd like to meet with each subcommittee individually and then come back together as an overall commission. But that's one option. We don't have to go with Bryn. I think there was our last meeting, we talked about another company, and I don't remember who it was. Don't remember who it was, but we did talk about another facilitator. So I guess I'd like to put this out for discussion with the group.
Jim, this is Mindy. I don't have a function on my phone to raise my hand.
Okay, go ahead.
I think bringing in a facilitator is wise and probably useful at this point. So I encourage that we bring in a facilitator to help with focusing our goals and getting a container city built. I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
Unmute myself. So that's what I think.
One of the, I think, hurdles that we're going to have to get through is the city has procurement rules in terms of how people are hired. And then, we don't formally have a budget as an organization. There would be a cost. So that cost would have to get approved at some point. And
yeah, and so Jim and I had quick exchange earlier on this. The things that, HCD will commit to supporting a facilitator, but as Jim said, we have rules, we have facilitators on contracts now at the city. And so we may have to use one of those that's on an existing contract. But we can absolutely commit to the budget to fund this. The challenge becomes if you have a specific facilitator you want, we may or may not be able to do that.
I think Bryn is very capable based on my communication with her. I think she would do a good job, but I don't think that that's our only option. Do you have a recommendation, Anne, on another person that might be easier to...
I know Bryn, I think she's great too. I don't think she's on a city contract. And there still may be a chance to use her depending on the dollar amount and the situation. I know PDSD has been using facilitators and Department of Transportation has been using facilitators. So there are some on contract already. So that's where it gets a little murky. But we can explore that, and I think the important thing is just sort of as a commission figuring out what is it you want to get out of it? What is the timeline? Do you want to do this during the regular meetings? Do you want to have a retreat on like a Saturday morning with her? Those are the things. I'll figure out the facilitation piece. Working with you, of course.
I was simply going to say there are a lot of good facilitators in the community, and I know the city certainly has a number on contract. It's also possible that depending upon whether there's a contract firm, it may be that it's under contract, they might be willing to subcontract out, and I assume that would be allowable, although I'm not sure. I think doing that kind of planning work would be great. My preference would be to try to figure out how to do it during the work week rather than on the weekends. But I could probably make that work too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mary Ann?
Yes, I think that if the city already has the procurement and contracts in place, and we're looking at, time efficiency, we should consider contracts that the city has and talk to a few of them, just to when we figure out what it is exactly that we want, like Ann said, we should probably consider a couple of them as well.
Ray, you had your hand up?
Be hear from the other people first and then.
Okay. Shay?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that whoever's facilitate that really to me doesn't matter at all. I think actually if it's someone none of us know, that's maybe more neutral. But I do like the idea of doing maybe an in-person retreat. We don't get to do that very often, and I think it would be just like a half day, and agree, Mark, during the week is just, business hours would be easiest for me. But I'm on another board and we just had a 2-day retreat, which was too much. That's too much strategic planning for me. But I could do a half day, I think would be really awesome. It can be very productive if it's properly facilitated.
I agree. If we did a retreat like that, that would all be subject to open meeting laws and everything, correct?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Yeah, the other board is a little different. We weren't subject to open meeting law. We were able to hold a special executive session. I'm not sure if that's possible with this commission.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
I'm interested mostly in that conversation of what the goals are around that. There was another facilitator. I listened to the last couple of meetings and had reached out to Ernesto with another recommendation for a facilitator of justice movement. And they do a really good job of ensuring that equity and racial equity is entrenched within, and they specifically do facilitation work around housing policy too. But I think if overall just would want to have a little bit more clarity of what the goal is. I think with whatever facilitator is used, and going with someone who's already on a city contract does seem to make a lot of sense. But we're going to get a lot more out if we all know what we're hoping to get from that time together. So yeah, would love to hear people's thoughts on what the desire is.
All right, so I think we've got two paths forward. I think one option is to work with Bryn, and another is to work with a city approved facilitator. And I think the first thing we need to do is get those costs from the individuals. So I think Bryn's probably going to be listening to this and maybe some of the subcommittee meetings to develop an estimate for us. Once we have that, I will forward that to you, Ann. And then I guess our next meeting, we can try to make a decision on how to proceed. My personal feeling is I'd like to get this started either in August or September, which sounds like a long ways away. But it's only 1 or 2 meetings away. So hopefully we can have a recommendation, I guess, to the group and make a decision at our next meeting. Does that sound good to everybody? All right, any other final comments or thoughts before we move on? Ray?
I was wondering if you or someone else could clarify some of what the goal is of that time with a facilitator?
I don't mind answering. I mean,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
it's
Thank
just
you.
to have clarity for us in terms of our goals and action items and what we're going to be able to accomplish. It feels a little bit like we've been losing momentum the past few months. So I don't think we have a specific, kind of goal in mind. We have a few, kind of broad goals, but then I think we don't have clarity as to how to prioritize those or how to, make them more actionable items, and then also make them actionable within the reach of our commission, which, we don't really actually have a ton of power technically. So, I think just setting a direction, like Jim was saying, for the next few years more strategically is really what we'd be after.
Marianne?
I think a couple things. One is we had discussed, putting together a number of units that we might want to see and push the city to achieve. And that could be one of the things that can be called out, along with, how do we work with the mayor and council to implement some of the recommendations that were approved and accepted by city council. So I think in some of this is about putting into action some of the things that we've already done, and talking about things that are coming up now in the committees, and how do we help with guiding some solutions, like along the encampment and the homeless situation and things like that. So I'm hoping that we could have who's ever listening to us be able to cull together a list of things that we have discussed in our subcommittees and in the commission that have been continual talking points, and help us formulate how to work with them. So maybe it's new committees, whatever it is. I think there's plenty for us to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or thoughts before we move to agenda item number 7? Okay, agenda item number 7 is discussion on and follow-up on the CEHD recommendations, which were made to mayor and council last February. So what I thought we could do here, I guess, and Anne and what happened to Corin? Is she still with us? Oh, there you are. Corin, I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, but I'm going to just ask if you know of what's going on here, and if there's any follow-up we need to do on each of these. So the first item was in line with HAST plan item number 9.1 to reinstate the City of Tucson Housing Trust Fund as a supplemental source of financing to fill gaps on funding projects. The specific ask was $2 million. And I guess, the city's going through a budgeting process right now. You know if that got incorporated at all?
So here's what I'm aware of regarding that. We are working on revamping the current housing trust fund because it's defunct and can't be used, even though there's a little bit of money in there. So Sarah Megason is working on that. The goal is to take it to you all before we take it to mayor and council. And so we're shooting for September, October, November timeframe. And I say that because as part of that, we did meet with the city manager's office and explore what revenue sources might be an option for an ongoing sustainable funding source. And so there is some research that came out of that in terms of potential options to look at. And so that's where we're definitely something interested in doing. One thing, and I'm happy to share any of this with anyone, we had an intern who was incredible. It was so sad to see her graduate and leave and move to Colorado. She compiled a spreadsheet of housing trust funds, what they're funded by, bond initiatives across the country, and sort of different pieces that really was helpful in us exploring potential funding sources. So that is one we're working on. In terms of a budget, a budget request for this cycle, I'm not aware of anything that was included that would fit that particular description.
Okay. So just to refresh everybody's memory, the reason that we recommended this was the way that the low-income housing tax credit program is set up right now is it's a point scoring process where projects get points based on their location. Part of the point scoring, it's a competitive process, is local contribution. And in order to get maximum points, projects need to receive at least 500,000 from the city or the county. And so tax credit submittals are typically due in April. So as we're looking forward to 2024, if we want to maximize our potential of getting new projects, we really need to have this in place by the end of the year. There's not a rush to get it done in the next 2 or 3 months. I think if it's done by the end of the year, that'll give HCD an opportunity to analyze projects coming in, donate 500,000 per project, and that makes up roughly 3 to 4% of the total project cost. So there's really a lot of financial benefits and incentives coming back to the city because there's sales tax revenues, there's property taxes, there's payroll taxes, all sorts of different things that come back to you can reimburse the city for that investment into these projects. So it really does, I think, make sense from a financial perspective as well as from a housing perspective. Marianne?
Yeah, I just want to add, I didn't think the housing trust fund was just for tax credits, but could be used also to provide gap financing for single family and also smaller non-tax credit multifamily.
Yeah, that's true. I think the thought was if there was 500,000 earmarked for a project and that project didn't receive an award, then it could be used for other purposes as well. That was my thought, but I think the city HCD can figure out what they think is the best use for that. Okay, any other comments on that first item? Okay, second item was in conjunction with HAST plan item number 5, which was to direct development services to review and change zoning regulations in order to encourage affordable housing projects. Specifically, we recommend that attention be paid to project density, setback requirements, building height, and a more streamlined process for zoning changes. So Corin, I guess that one's a question for you.
Yes, this is something we are working on, or about to embark on, and actually the scope of this has even been expanded. So this was endorsed by Mayor and Council in February, and since then Mayor and Council have actually asked us to look at tools to facilitate redevelopment of underutilized lots across the city, particularly along transit corridors, and look for opportunity to really incentivize redevelopment of those sites with mixed-use housing, mixed-use development, particularly affordable and workforce housing. So a lot of the tools that CDHD recommended for affordable housing, we think also can help for workforce housing in addition. So we're going to be looking at that as kind of a combined effort with some particular attention and looking for tools that will be further incentives for affordable housing, of course, but we're actually broadening this to look at opportunities to promote housing, multifamily housing along a lot of our major corridors. So more on this soon. We're kind of in a data gathering phase right now. Mayor and council asked that we return September, October with more analysis around areas of opportunity in Tucson and zoning barriers. So we'll be coming back with some options in terms of policy direction we could go in for zoning changes and looking for more specific direction from mayor and council at that time. So we'll definitely keep this commission updated and we also intend to hold a couple, potentially some focus groups this summer to get more information on, you know, we know a lot of the barriers, but to help us fine tune a little bit what some of the policy options could be that we bring back to mayor and council.
It's great. So definitely, if there's things that we can do, participate in those public sessions, please don't hesitate to ask. Is there any questions or comments for Corin? Shay?
Was the new director is the new director on board now?
Yes, great question. So another announcement from PDSD is we have a new planning and development services director, Christina Swallow. She actually started on Tuesday. So she is on board and she's kind of getting immersed in all of this policy and ongoing projects that we have. Yeah, so Christina will be at the helm.
Where is Christina from?
Christina was most recently in Nevada. So she comes to us, her most recent position was as director of the State Department of Transportation. And she also worked in Las Vegas in their public works department.
Is she from, she was one from Reno?
And she's from Tucson. Yeah, she is from Tucson originally.
Okay. Yeah, Marianne?
Is it possible that we could invite her to one of our commission meetings to give us a little background and talk to her a little bit, you know, maybe 15-20 minutes?
Yes, definitely. I'll extend that invitation and see if she could come in July or August, one of the upcoming meetings.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or thoughts for Corin? Okay, the next item was in line with HAST plan item number 9.2, which was to direct staff to evaluate the potential of adding affordable housing in a future bond or tax measure to go to voters. Phoenix and Flagstaff are currently working on similar measures, and this can provide a long-term solution for Tucson. This was a very complicated one because mayor and council said that the city should work with the county on this. You know if there's any changes or what's going on with that? Ann?
I have not heard an update on that, and Marcos, I just put on his camera, maybe he has, but I'm happy to look into it for next month.
I have not heard anything with regards to you know, the county bond issue. I know that there is another allocation of $5 million proposed for affordable housing with the next fiscal year's budget that would be out of the county's general fund. You know, I can definitely check into it further as well, just to gauge what the appetite is. You know, there's a lot of volatility in the financial markets still, so yeah, I think our finance team is going to have a better handle on that. So, but I can check to see if we can follow up with them and see if there's any possibility of that. But you know, I think it is encouraging that, you know, our board of supervisors are willing to consider, you know, another general fund allocation. And you know, if the city's able to, I think that would be, I think, you know, that would be good to recommend as well. So, and then there's all there also needs to be an evaluation of the current, you know, debt capacity for both county and the city. And I'm not sure if it's if we're able to do a joint bond issue, I know that we, like we have done sometimes with mortgage revenue bonds, which are, a totally different animal there, but that's something definitely that we could check into as well. So so yeah, that's all I've got on that right now. So
Okay. This was definitely the item that was that mayor and council was least comfortable with. And it's the most complicated item on this list. But it would also have the largest impact. So yeah, I'd be interested to see, I guess, how we go from here. I lost sorry, I was looking something up and I get back to this. Any questions or other thoughts on the bond measure? Everyone?
I'll just throw one more, comment in that, I think that the city, if the city were to move ahead, with regards to the voters, I think that may be more apt to the voters in the city, I should say, might be more apt to consider, approving a bond measure directed at affordable housing. So
then putting it out to the entire county.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that as well, that from the likelihood to get passed, if it was just a city measure, it would be more likely to pass than if it was done at the county level. Okay. The next item was to codify a fast track approval process on affordable housing projects through development services. That's been done. Well, I guess, Corin, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So this is something that we're actually able to do with our new permitting system, is better track these applications as they come in. So we actually just made some updates to our permitting system to track applications with HCD that have some sort of HCD involvement. So we're now able to have a better handle on those. We have weekly meetings with all the city departments, and HCD is a regular participant in those, and helps us keep those projects on track, or brings those to our attention so that we can expedite and facilitate those affordable housing projects.
Okay, any thoughts or comments for Corin? Questions? Shay?
I mean, that's really great, but I guess that still excludes everyone else though. I mean, anyone else who's either private or nonprofit or who's.
So HCD is tracking projects that are not just HCD developments, that are also LIHTC projects. Right, Anne, you guys have a.
Yeah, and how I see it, and Shay, I appreciate that comment, because I think we can think through a really streamlined version to do this, but similar to the impact fee waiver, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a LIHTC project to get the impact fee waiver. So you just have to meet certain criteria. And I will say we need to work on and streamline that process a bit as well. But yeah, we would essentially just be a first line of, does it meet the fast track requirements? And then we would turn it over to PDSD.
Any other comments or questions? Ray?
The question, where do we find what those fast track requirements are? Is that on PDSD or HCD?
I see Corin answering.
I mean, we
Good
don't
question.
have anything, yeah, great question. We don't have anything published. It's really through HCD that we identify those projects. But I mean, we are mostly looking at LIHTC projects, but others that HCD identifies as affordable house, a priority affordable housing projects.
Ray, I can share with you the impact fee. Like the impact fee, we have an established process with established requirements. And we could mirror something like that, but if the commission thinks that it should be changed, you can also make that recommendation. But happy to share what we did with impact fees.
Thank you. I was wondering if things like I know some groups are trying to build these like tiny home communities, or like the Bo was speaking earlier about that project, or like the homing project, or other groups that might be doing things that are not LIHTC, of if those kinds of communities or housing would be on that fast track.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions on this?
I can say this is Betty, when we did the waiver program, impact fee waiver at the county, I don't even know if they still do it or not, but when they did it, they had a list too of the qualifications. Of course, it had to be meeting the 80% and below end user for one. And then if I remember right, there was a list of like qualified nonprofit developers or CHODOs that were on the list that were automatically approved, for the waiver as well, the impact fee waiver. Marcos I don't even know if you guys still do it, do you?
No, unfortunately, we're not able to. The state statutes were changed a few years ago.
Oh, typical.
Right, and so we're not, we can do it, but we basically have to, we can't waive it without paying for it somehow with general funds or grant funds, so.
Yeah, we got away with it for a long time.
Yeah, so, and I think, I don't know why the builders, lobbied for something like that, but maybe it's possible to work with them and get that changed, and until they do, that's what we have to work with. And but we had just done it on the home ownership side for home ownership development when the county was doing it. We hadn't gotten into waivers on rental developments. Didn't have a chance to before the legislature exempted us. So, yeah.
So it was the builders, that did that?
Well, yeah, I think, yes, that's what they had something to do, and we're maybe part of the lobbying effort to change it. And I know David Godlewski with Saba had explained, the reasoning behind it. I don't think he necessarily agreed with it, but, and maybe they didn't fully understand the impact. But yeah, nonetheless, it's the hand we've been dealt and what we have to deal with right now. So
I know some of those people, and I'll have a couple discussions in the background.
On the bright side, some of the the general funds, the county, if they are approved, can be used to help offset those costs as well. But it would be nice if we didn't have to, and we could waive them like we were doing before. So it allow more money to go to actual production. So. Oops, sorry.
I have not heard that before, but all right. Any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, yeah, Shay.
So was the reasoning behind that, Marcos, that the private sector felt it was like an unfair advantage, or like why weren't they included? So I guess that was kind of similar to my other comment with the fast track process, is like the overall, is that because I have similar concerns, like when the overall fairness of the way things appear.
Yeah, there was some type of reasoning, although I'm not sure if it fully made sense, and I definitely don't agree with it. But as I said, I don't know if they understood that the conditions that we were waiving under, and you know, and you know, I think it would have been good to be able to have a discussion and you know, try to make sure that, you know, they have a full understanding of the intent of that type of action, and you know, the advantage of waivers could provide for builders, not just for, you know, potentially, especially on the rental side. So anyway, I think, you know, if we could show there could be a connection, that, you know, that would be helpful.
Marianne?
You're on mute, Marianne.
What got missed in the education of the public was the mission of the housing. And also what the, you know, higher bar requirements of the operating and curb appeal, if you will, of the projects are, you know, required of us, and the cost of that. So if you're not willing to serve low-income people and charge a lower rent, you know, the subsidy really isn't deserving. So I think there was a real lack of education of the public, and that's something I brought up in this commission with regard to a bond deal, or, you know, a bond vote, you know, is how do we best educate the public? And I think if there is a vote for a bond, that before that goes out, there's a big discussion with, you know, affordable housing developers, the mission of why, you know, we need these waivers, how it impacts the community, you know, that kind of stuff. The other thing that I think was misunderstood also was that, you know, why do those people get a waiver and we don't? So it was just a real bad education process.
Okay. Any other points on item number 4? Okay, the last item that was on the list was to explore options for providing funding on affordable housing projects to subsidize the additional cost of installing EV infrastructure. And it was my understanding from the discussions with Mayor and Council that the intent was that TEP initiative, which just failed for the moving the lines underground down Campbell, there was a green funding component of that I think that they were thinking that could be used to help subsidize the EV infrastructure costs. But that measure failed. So I don't know if, you know, what's going on with that. Corin, have you heard anything? No. Ann, have you heard anything? Yeah.
No, sorry.
We didn't say to just offset it. We said to explore options for providing funding. So I think that can still happen. But I think that the first option, which is what was in the back of everybody's head, has gone away. So it's gotten significantly more complicated. Is that your guys' understanding as well?
Yeah, I think this is one where, you know, there may be federal funding opportunities and things like that, but need to look for some sort of funding source.
All right, anybody have any comments or questions on this? Marianne?
It sure would probably grease the wheel for TEP if they came up with some waivers themselves. And I know the mayor and TEP are discussing, you know, how to move forward. And I'm not sure if anyone from HCD is part of that discussion, but, you know, to actually see TEP do something of its own accord, like a waiver, would probably be a good thing for them to consider doing.
Well, I don't think there was a city of Tucson ordinance, the EV ordinance was a city of Tucson ordinance that said how many parking spaces had to have EV charging capabilities. So I'm not sure that's something that TEP itself could waive. So I think development services might have the ability to waive it if there's a waiver request put through. But I think what the mayor and council was hoping for is that there could be a funding source that would help offset the cost for installing that.
I think that was the motion we supported.
What's that, Mark?
I think that was a motion we supported.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was supported by mayor and council as well. I just think that they had earmarked this one source that has gone away.
Well, maybe they can still work on TEP as part of those discussions to, set aside some funds for that.
Yeah. All right, any other comments or questions? Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 8, which is a subcommittee updates. First subcommittee, nothing like getting thrown straight into the fire here, Tisha, is Housing First.
Sure. We did have a meeting last night, and it was Mindy, Kimbriana, and myself. We had a presentation by Brandy Champion on the Housing First program project with the city of Tucson. She presented us with some information, including the budget and proposed budget for 2024. We had a bit of a discussion about perhaps getting, or it was my suggestion, I'm sorry, I volunteered you all, to come together and bring resources together that might assist the Housing First project. And, we were talking, down to minutia on the budget regarding furnishings for the shelter items and such, but I thought that maybe we could all follow up and create a list that might assist and defraying any costs associated with the Wildcat shelter. We opened up the comments to the public, and Joe with Barrio Neighborhood Coalition commented, and we actually got into a discussion about, broadening the lens, maybe looking at things not necessarily creatively or innovatively, but ensuring that we're at least changing perspective or looking at things a little bit differently to assist in the goals that the committee may have. I think one of the challenges that we might have moving forward is kind of goal or mission creep into other subcommittees, but I'll try to get the others who are on the committee to assist me in framing that appropriately and bringing folks to the forefront, maybe as guests or educators in the Housing First arena, so that we could have a more robust discussion and be able to inform the city of Tucson maybe a little bit better. And I would like to make a call for individuals who may not be overwhelmed with other committees to join our subcommittee. My understanding is that, Mindy, there's been a kind of a continuous issue with quorum. We also had a quorum issue last evening, but we decided to go ahead and continue, and we were able to make quorum about 15 or 20 minutes into the session. So if any of you would like to join the subcommittee, please email me. I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat to the host and the panelists. And there was a discussion a bit on Matthew Desmond, and I did want to offer up to the commission. We are bringing Matthew Desmond here December 12th. We're going to have an event open to the public at the Fox Theater, but I also have I have retained him to do a more intimate roundtable discussion with advocates in this area of affordable housing, to meet directly with him. And he's the Pulitzer Prize winning author of Evicted. He's most recently authored Poverty by America. And I would like to open that up to the commission as an educational piece for us as we look further into strategic planning in the next 3 years goals. But I will give you all that information as we get closer as well.
When is that? Did you say December 12th?
December 12th, the roundtable would be the morning of December 13th. You're welcome, of course, to get tickets to the 12th, but I'll also go ahead and send you an invitation for you all to be present at the more intimate discussion with him the following day.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions for Tisha?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tisha. Housing desegregation, Jay's not here. Is there anybody who could fill in, talk about what happened on the?
Jim, it's Lori. I'm the only one who is here besides Joe who attended, and I didn't know that Jay wasn't going to be here. I have no notes in front of me, and I don't want to just start talking without the notes that I have, so I apologize. We are going to be bringing some things to the commission that we're hoping to move forward. We did have good discussion with someone from the Office of Equity for the city that joined our meeting, and we really appreciated that and hope to have more of that happening. But other than that, I don't have my notes, so I apologize.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions for Lori? Okay, affordable housing, Shay.
Yeah, we had our meeting canceled, right? We didn't have quorum. So, and I was looking now too, I was like, I don't see our next meeting on the calendar yet for June either. So maybe that's something we can do before we leave. And the last meeting in May, it showed up as canceled on our, I think that was, it was like a technical issue. So, but anyways, hopefully we can have that resolved for June. Thanks.
Yeah, I would encourage each of you at the CEHD meeting. On the agenda, it says when the next couple of meetings are, and just put a placeholder, if you could, on your calendars for those. I know, sometimes things slip through my email, so I actually didn't have the meeting on my calendar either. But I'm working with HCD to get that cleaned up going forward. Any questions for Shay? Joe?
Just real quick, as we're talking about people being on different subcommittees, and I'd love to see more people on every subcommittee, but just as a member of the public that wants to see these meetings happen too, please don't be on the subcommittee if you can't make the meetings for the subcommittee, because these subcommittees won't be able to make quota, and we end up that affordable housing subcommittee meeting, there were none of the voting members could show up for it, and I had to cancel. So that's just kind of my request from the public. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we had a clerical mistake on that. So, but we'll get that addressed going forward.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. I didn't have it on my calendar either.
Yeah. So
I do think something got canceled by mistake.
Well, we had to reschedule a couple, and then, so yeah, we'll get those invites taken care of. Okay. So next agenda item is HCD updates. Ann, you have some good news for us?
It depends on how you view it. So one, and it is sort of bittersweet, but one bit of news that I know many of you know is Liz Morales, the Director of Housing and Community Development, until Tuesday, has been promoted. And so she's still with the city. She is an assistant city manager. She'll oversee 6 departments, including housing. So I say bittersweet because when I think a lot of people have had this reaction where she's been an incredible housing director. And so when she first told me, I was a bit devastated. And then I quickly also realized she's still here. She's in a position where she'll have more ability to support and influence all the things that she's cared about her whole life. So in many ways, it's great. It's great for her. For the interim, I have been appointed to be the director in the interim while they go through a recruitment process. And so for now, I am the interim director of HCD. So I was joking with Neto, was like, I guess you're a full-fledged ex officio commission member. And I was like, well, interim ex officio member. So, but I'll be here. I do plan on attending meetings and happy to answer any questions on that. But we are excited for Liz, and also Terry is on this call too. He and I will be really working closely with Liz to ensure a smooth transition as she takes on her other duties. A couple other pieces of news. Many of you probably saw the Arizona Department of Housing released funding for persons experiencing homelessness. So we did submit an application. They were due on Friday, but HCD helped coordinate. So it was a joint application with the City of Tucson, Pima County, and also the Tucson-Pima Collaboration to End Homelessness. So the application was multi-pronged, but all to support the community shelter programs. So they have indicated they will make announcements June 6th in terms of what was funded. We probably, we may or may not get funded at the level we submitted, but hopefully we will get some funding. So next month, I'll keep you updated on that. Jim, I don't know if you shared the news about the low-income housing tax credits, but if you haven't,
that was actually the good news I was thinking about. I have not shared it yet.
All right. Well, feel free. Do you want to talk about it? Or
no, you go ahead. Go ahead and do it.
So today, Arizona Department of Housing, and I'll put a link in the chat, released their the 2023 low-income housing tax credit awards. And the amazing news is that for new construction, the projects within the city all got funded that were submitted. So 3 new construction projects, and then Pasquiaki as well got funded. So really 4 projects within the region. I will put together a little summary of how many units that is, but that is really, I credit a lot of people with really trying to get proposals, encourage developers to submit good applications that meet the scoring criteria, but something that's pretty exciting. So I just put that reservation list that Arizona Department of Housing came out with today. Another announcement, reminder probably for many of you, I believe next month, Jason Thorpe, our administrator overseeing a lot of our programs, is going to come probably tag team with Brandy on data regarding the unhoused. He had asked me to remind you all and make sure you know if you don't know that Tucson-Pima Collaboration to End Homelessness, TPCH, is hosting a presentation June 6th. And I'm putting that link in the chat as I speak. So June 6th from 1 to 2:30 will be a presentation on the latest point in time count report that was recently released. So he was thinking if people want sort of a preview and more information regarding the data that was recently released, that would be a really good precursor to their presentation next month. And I think that's all I have, unless anyone, I see Austin here from HCD, Neto, Terry, if anyone has anything to add, feel free to jump in.
You stole my thunder, Ann. I was going to invite commissioners to the point in time count on June 6th.
I don't have anything to add. I was going to mention the point in time count information as well.
All right, thank you.
So, I think it's amazing news that, that Tucson did so well. Each of the 4 projects, received the maximum number of tax credits, which was 2.5 million. So between the 4 projects, 10 of the $34.6 million is coming down to Tucson. Which represents almost 29% of all of the state's tax credits. So we have been averaging, let's see, we were averaging 9.9%. So that's a significant improvement. And I think a lot of it can be chalked up to the city putting aside some of the ARPA money for these projects. I think that made a huge difference. So congratulations, Ann, and everybody else in HCD for getting that done. Any other comments or questions for HCD? I guess I have one more question. So this point in time count, this is on June 6th. From 1 to 2, it's an online virtual presentation?
Correct. And the registration link is in the chat.
Okay,
It's 1 to 2:30.
1 to 2:30. That's on Tuesday next week. Okay. Any other comments or questions for HCD? Okay, I'm going to loop back to agenda item number 2. Did everybody receive a copy of the May meeting minutes? Is there any changes to those meeting minutes? All right, if there's no changes, without objection, the meeting minutes are approved.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Do you want me to go through a vote? I'm happy to go through a vote if you would like to go through a vote. Okay. All right. So next steps, item number 10, our next commission meeting is July 6th. I am a little bit concerned about that meeting because it's right after the 4th of July holiday, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people who may be out. So I wanted to throw it out to this group, given that it's the middle of the summer. Does the commission want to skip that meeting, or do you guys want to have it? And if we have it, you want to keep it on July 6th or change it to a different date?
Jim, I think we should keep the meeting and not skip it, given what we just talked about, that we want to have done and get ready for a retreat and just not lose our momentum.
Okay.
Another day is fine with me.
Well, I guess the question is are there any commission members who know they're going to be on vacation or going to be out that day? Okay, then let's keep it. So we talked about, so our next commission meeting is July 6th, and then it's August 3rd. Please plug those into your calendars if they're not on there already. The next affordable housing subcommittee is June 21st. Housing desegregation is June 22nd, and Housing First is June 28th. We had talked about Jason presenting on the homeless camps. Do the commission members want to add the container housing as an agenda item for the next meeting? That's something you guys want to discuss or not? No?
Can we get, I don't know, was Bo asking to be added? Is he still on?
He's not on it, Shay, but he would like to be on the agenda to make a longer, more formal presentation.
I think,
I'm interested. I don't see why not if it's just short 5-10 minute presentation.
I think the discussion on the encampments and homelessness is going to be hefty. And so I think it should be at a different time and not at that meeting.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we can move him to August. That makes sense.
The only reason I wouldn't mind listening to that at some point is I think that the thing I've always gotten, people are always asking me about pre-manufactured housing, container housing. And I think one of the challenges of that is getting the approvals through the city because the housing is manufactured in one place and you can't necessarily see everything that's behind the walls. So, plumbing has to be put in per code, electric has to be put in per code. And how do those inspections occur if they're outside the city? And I think that's a lot of times where the hangups occur is, you still need to have a building that meets building codes. And how those are inspected and approved, I think is one of the biggest challenges for this type of housing that's been in place. And so, I wouldn't mind having that discussion at some point just to educate myself on how it's done and maybe there's a better way to skin the cat that is more cost effective. My personal experience with those types of housing is it can be as expensive or more expensive than just doing standard construction means and methods. Once you consider everything, including transportation costs and site costs.
Should we have them in the Affordable Housing Subcommittee meeting then first? And
I think that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good idea.
I mean, I don't mind. I think it's a helpful educational tool though for the entire public because that's kind of that's my understanding as well, Jim. I've spoken with the builder here in town who worked with the well-known prefabrication company out of LA, and those markets can barely even in those markets where they can charge a lot more, they still have struggled getting prefab off the ground. So in a market like ours where the cost of construction is so much lower for conventional, it just never seems to ever pencil out that prefab makes sense in our economy. But it's this dream that everyone keeps so that's why I'm curious to hear, maybe this person has figured out a way to solve this problem. But as far as I understand, no one can compete with what our what our local builders can do with conventional construction.
Yeah.
But that's just, but I'm always curious and hopeful that there's someone out there who's solved it.
Right.
I'm wondering if the commission has already had a conversation about the tiny home communities and the issues with zoning and getting some of these projects passed. I'd be interested in a larger conversation, not just about this one nonprofit, but about what are some of the barriers to getting some of those passed. Has that conversation already happened here?
no, it has not. And it's a good one, I think, for the Affordable Housing Committee, because it gets into a whole lot of stuff like, tiny home overlays, how those overlays work with downtown overlays and, what kind of changes have to be made to code and all that kind of stuff. Not just zoning. So it's a pretty complicated topic. And I do think it's something that we could bring into the Affordable Housing Committee. Since you're interested, we would love to have you on the committee.
And I also heard Shay just saying maybe an interest in that being in the whole commission. Am I hearing you right on that, Shay?
Well, I think it would be good to have, Bill present to the whole commission, because that's an idea that's come up also in my other, on the IDA, but, you know, we have members there who have been interested in the topic and who've jumped on board with this whole shipping container idea. I'm just skeptical myself personally, that it will actually be as cost effective as they're saying. I mean, to me, the problem is labor. I mean, our labor force knows conventional construction. That's what they know. And so how do you find anybody whose specialty or who doesn't know how to do what you're asking them to do is going to charge you a lot more. So to me, it's a multi-layered issue that, again, I think that's part of what we can do. And people listen to our meetings and, you know, can get more educated themselves on the issues when they hear someone like this talk about it. But like I said, I'm always optimistic that maybe someone else has solved these issues, but once you start, I think it's just great for everyone to be aware of just how multi-layered the issues are when you're dealing with housing.
So Shay, I think Marianne had a good suggestion of let's maybe start with the Affordable Housing Subcommittee, and if we feel like it needs to get kicked up to the overall commission, we can do that. Joe, do you have a topic you want to discuss?
Well, it's this topic. I was just thinking, I don't remember if this was in any of the CHD meetings over the last couple of years, but I know I've seen a couple of presentations about manufactured housing and barriers from Mark Keir at the University of Arizona. He's a professor of geography over there, and I think he had a presentation at the American Association of Geographers Conference in Denver this year too. So I know he's done work on that, and I've listened to some of that. Maybe he might be somebody to reach out to continue a conversation if that's something we're interested in.
Okay. What was his name?
I just gave you a link in chat.
Mark here. Okay. Ray?
Maybe a question for Corin or someone else from PDSD. If at some point, if a future meeting, it might be possible to have more of the conversation around the zoning and plan approval challenges for getting some of these projects approved.
Yeah, definitely. We could have a conversation about a few aspects. One is the zoning, as it was brought up in terms of how tiny homes are, how those are looked at, because there's a lot of different variation there, and it depends on how the site is operated. And then there's also building code issues around site built versus manufactured. So we can definitely put together some information on that, and I can bring in some colleagues to help present on that at a future meeting.
All right, any other thoughts or suggestions for agenda items for our next meeting? All right, well, thank you, everybody. It is 5:45 and we are adjourned. Have a great month.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.